welcome one and all to the Snide Show. I'm your host as always, Cornelius Edward Snider, and I am joined today finally with the brilliant, the talented, the bombastic Meredith Kerr. I'm so glad. Am I saying that right, Meredith Kerr?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Finally getting you on the stream here. You know, the Snide stream is back, and back with a vengeance with Meredith here. Thank you so much.
It's very exciting. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. I saw you a while back, like I said, at Long Way Brewing, and you've been on the list ever since. Folks, I'm sure you've noticed I haven't been putting as much stuff out there. I've been grinding hard on some gigs, doing some writing and video editing, just trying to put the Everscope name out there, trying to, get all professional. The Snide Studio stuff here is just for the comedy, just for shits and giggles. If we make money from it, it's cool. But for the most part, this is a passion project. And my passion is getting these brilliant comedians out there, especially in the New River Valley, where it just, it's I don't know if we're back to Green Acres Howdy Doody status back in the day when, folks were really into the Appalachians, but the 2.0, Appalachia 2.0 is out there now with just so many funny people and so many. Again, I keep saying it, but brilliant. And going back to what I was saying before we started rolling, and I'm like, I just want this on the record. I'm a very kind of private person, but folks like yourself that are, you just put yourselves out there, and you're always greasing palms, always going around, meeting new people, bridging connections. It's just so cool, and I just admire people that can do that.
Yeah, that's it's a lot of networking. It's a lot of just showing your face places and sticking your hand out and introducing yourself and just begging people to give you a chance. Yeah, it's a lot of selling of yourself, and I'm not very good at that.
I disagree.
That's my mentor, Sean Carter, who owns Blue Ridge Comedy here in Bristol, he said the other day, he was like, you need to write a new bio. And I was just like, but that's the About Me section of the dating app. I've never been good at that. So, the behind the scenes schmoozing, I'm not terribly great at. I'm just just get me on stage and let me do my thing. And if you like me, great. And if you don't, then thank you for your time.
But you put yourself out there, and it's awesome. It's awesome. And so when you're doing that, getting into the hot scoop, our segment here on the Snide Show, where we break the ice with a hot scoop of questions. First of all, how do you stay humble when you're putting yourself out there like that? You walk this tightrope of which I guess you just started to give a little insight into that. But can you talk some more about that?
I think that's a great question, because you're assuming that I am humble. Well, that's to a certain extent, I go by the fake it till you make it philosophy. And so I try not to be intimidated by anyone. So I do hype myself up, and I'm just you're just as funny as the next person. You're just as good as the next person. But and I'm very competitive. I love doing comedy competitions. And I don't win, but I love, I just love the sport of it, and I love the competition of it. And I like to compare myself to other comics. That's what keeps me motivated. So I think that I'm maybe accidentally humble, if I am humble at all. Right.
Yeah. So, well, you have some jokes out there on social media about that, but I guess it's kind of sarcasm, You were just getting a little bit into your insecurities a little bit about putting yourself out there. So I really think it's a tightrope where you have this bombastic kind of energy that you bring on stage, where you're being so candid and so in your face, but then at the same time, you're very off stage, very, very realistic. Very grounded, and that's cool. That's cool. I like people that are like that. It's very multidimensional.
Well, I think I'm honest to a fault. I'm pretty much an open book. You can ask me any question about my life, and I'm going to tell you, going to be 45 this year, and it's just kind of like I've really kind of settled into my, into my own skin and who I am as a person. And it's just like, this is me, like, take it or leave it. I hope you take it because I think I'm awesome.
Right on. Well, at Snide Studios, the door is wide open for you, Meredith. And
Awesome.
so, what first of all, before I go further, because I love what you got going on with your hair. Your hair and your vibe right now, very very Whitney Cummings.
I'll take that. I like her.
All right. So, so in your comedy career, both performing and you were talking a little bit before on air, working at Blue Ridge Comedy Club, what is the craziest thing you've seen happen?
Well, I don't know. As a bartender at Blue Ridge, I've seen some crazy stuff. I think that because Blue Ridge really brought comedy to Bristol. We didn't have a comedy club. We'd not really been exposed to comedy clubs. I'm talking about like the lay Bristolian, the regular Joe. And so Blue Ridge really kind of had to teach the audience how to watch comedy, because a lot of people want to participate and they want to talk to you, which is fine for some shows, but it's also just straight up heckling at other times, And so I've seen it go pretty off the rails with, just people wanting to be involved and just hollering out. But we have really great audiences. But as a bartender, like just the behind the scenes stuff, the craziest thing I've seen is a guy came in one time and I guess he was like, dipping his tobacco or whatever, chewing his tobacco or whatever it's called. And he just spit all of his tobacco in the floor. And I was just like, that's Appalachian, baby. Yeah. Like, where do you go that they're just like, well, this seems like the right thing to do.
Now take it to Texas Roadhouse. They'll take
yeah,
it.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm okay with sweeping up your peanut shells, but I'm not cool with cleaning up your dip spit.
I hate when I was a kid, I would always like, what are these little mounds of dirt you see places? And then one day it just hit me like, ugh.
Yeah.
Actually, in Virginia is a crime, folks. In Virginia, it's a crime. You can't be spitting in public.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Technically, I don't think anyone enforces it.
Oh, yeah. It drives me crazy. That's then leaving their nasty. Then they'll ask for pint glasses to spit in, and I'm just like, "Where were you raised? My mother would have killed me."
Yeah. Right. So, what keeps you busy? When you're not, hustling chuckles at the Blue Ridge Comedy Club.
I call him my rescue. I got a rescue during the pandemic. He is a 17-year-old human child. I have a foster son. So he keeps me on my toes, and teenagers. That's because I've never been married. I don't have any biological children. So I started with him when he was 14, 15. He's actually a child of one of my friends who, is just not in the best place right now. And so that's Marvin lives with me full time, and I love him, but man, those eye rolls and that venom that he spits out at you and everything he says, it's just like, oh. I apologize to my mom all the time for ever being a teenager. I'm just like, Mom, I'm so sorry you had to go through this. And I remember being snarky and thinking I knew everything, but it's he's been a real he's amazing. He's been a real treat, but he's also been an eye opener and a great source for material, obviously.
See that's the plan right there. That's the
yeah. I'm just like, I'm gonna get me a foster kids because I can't think of anything to write about.
That's beautiful though. That's beautiful. Hey, that's mutually beneficial right there. I love that too, because my lady and I we're both the kinds of people, like our work is our child, and like our animals are our children, and we're the world's facing overpopulation, and there are many, as you put it, in the rescue terms, there are many people, young people that could use parental guidance that don't have it, and that's the way to do it, man. That's the way to do it. We've talked about, like, when we're like, in our 50s or something, maybe we'll get into something like that, because that's the way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's he's great. He's really amazing, and that's just it. That's it started out with me trying to help his dad, and I felt like that was something that I was supposed to be doing at the time, and then I think it turned out I was supposed to be trying to help his dad to get to the kid. Like, I think the universe was just like, we need to go in this direction so that you can get this kid. And I tell him all the time, because I'm single, so I have cats. Um, and I tell him all the time, I'm just like, you're my favorite human child that I have.
Like those like Chewy commercials where the kids are competing with the animals for attention and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
funny.
That's sometimes he'll just be like, will you do this for your cats? You do it. If your cats ask you to do it, then you do it for them. And I'm just like, you're right, I would. I love them more.
That's so
They don't
funny.
talk back and lock me out of their room and
Yeah.
snark at me. Yeah.
That's so funny. That is so funny. Oh my
But he's
gosh.
he's great. He's a good kid, but
Oh.
he definitely keeps me busy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's teenagers. That's so. With all of this kind of, with comedians and in your personal life, you focus on people a lot. Would you consider yourself an extrovert?
I don't know. I think that's a hard question. I'm very uncomfortable in social situations, some social situations.
Hmm.
Like, if I know everybody, then I'm fine. I love to be, the center of attention. But, if it's a room full of strangers and I'm expected to go in and, be, the cool gal, I would rather be on stage. I
Yeah.
can,
Hmm.
I can connect with you while I'm on stage. I don't want to,
Yes.
like, I'm not very good at chit chat. I want to get
Right.
to the meat of the conversation.
Yeah.
Um, but and like I said, fake it till you make it. So I like to put on a big smile and just force my way through it.
Right
you
on.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. Right on. Right on. I get it.
So I guess I'm a forced extrovert. I make
Right.
myself be.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. I'm sure there's a big spectrum of
Yeah.
people. Like I'm totally a hermit. I could go 3 weeks with like in even like without like virtual contact with other people, and I'd be fine. It's wild. It's a problem. And this is all going back to we're all working through our own things and stuff. It's
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
we all have our battles, and the thing is, you just got to keep getting outside of your comfort zone, challenging yourself and stuff, and
Absolutely.
that's man, yeah. So how does the setting of Bristol influence your comedy? Are you from Bristol?
I am. I was born and raised in Bristol. And that's Bristol growing up, especially, had a very small town mentality. Um, I mean, I was telling my kid the other day, I was just like, you see all this stuff here? When I was a kid, this is all farmland,
Yep.
so
Yep.
that Bristol has grown considerably over
Right.
the past, 30 years or whatever. But I love Bristol. I've traveled, all over. I've been to Europe, I've been to Mexico. I've done traveling, and I always say there is no place more beautiful in the world. Like, I love coming back to my
Mm-hmm.
mountains.
Yep. Yep.
I very much identify as hillbilly. Uh, I think it's probably just the perspective that the way that Bristol would influence me is a small town perspective, even though I have, like a more broader sense of the world than a
Yes.
lot of people who live in Bristol. Um, and maybe a little bit more perspective than a lot of people in Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that that's changing, like it's changing with most of the world.
Yep.
Everybody's opening up and in certain ways, but then in other ways, uh, closing in. I told my kid the other day, when I grew up in the 90s, we didn't want labels. We didn't want you to label, we, we didn't care like what you called us. We didn't think about pronouns and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, it's so specific. These kids are like, you know, I'm transgender, male identifying, male attracted, like they put themselves in these little niche boxes, so it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they're trying to be open-minded, but then putting themselves in this narrow space as well. And
Right. I've talked about
it
that a
blows my
little bit.
mind.
Yeah.
But, that's, I guess you rebel, the next generation rebels at what the previous generation did.
Yes. Yep.
We rebelled by getting tattoos and having crazy hair. This
Mm-hmm.
generation is going to rebel by becoming cheerleaders and wearing bows in their hair.
True. Yeah, yeah. No, very true, very true. And definitely not, disparaging anyone's identity or anything like that, but it is just an interesting
Yeah.
thing that like yeah, at the same time, while there is kind of this collectivist view of like we need to get together, more community, we need, at the same time there are these lines that people put up that divide
Mhm.
us, that and then they're obsessed with the individualism of it all, and those
Yeah.
two things kind of fly in the face of each other. To have a community, you got to have a little bit of grace and a little bit of like, oh, I understand, sorry I got that wrong, like we can move on, or
Yeah.
what have you.
I'm all for it. Do it. Be who you want to be.
Hmm.
Be your most authentic, comfortable self. It doesn't matter to me. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I'm all for it. You
Exactly,
know,
exactly,
I'm in. I'll
exactly,
call you whatever you want me to call you. I don't care.
exactly. But
That
at,
doesn't affect me.
at
That's
the same
cool.
time, you can't police other people's, reaction to things. Like something might surprise someone, and that's
Hmm.
okay. It's okay to be surprised by a thing you've never heard of before, never seen before. It's
Oh yeah.
and that's the thing too. There just needs to be a little bit more grace, as long as people are being cool, as long as people are being, tolerant and no hate. And that's the big thing here. Like with Snide Studios and just my own thing with comedy is just like, comedy's there to ask questions, it's there to cope with things, it's there to try to understand, and as long as people aren't getting hateful, people can
Yeah.
say whatever the hell they want, as long as it's
Well,
funny
and
too.
that's comedy's there to push the boundaries and be ask the questions and be kind of edgy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
Because we have a platform to say things. Maybe probably not so much right now because people are getting canceled, but to say things in a joking way, um, that still kind of question things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit more accepted, I guess, when we get up there and we talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, as long as it's funny, as long as
Yeah.
it's not hateful, like, yeah, like
Oh,
that's
it,
what it's
it can
there
definitely
for.
cross the line. Oh, that's probably the craziest thing I've seen at the comedy club. We had a guy at open mic um, get on stage, and he'd been there maybe one time before, just like a middle-aged white guy. And he got on stage and he started this bit about how he had this friend who was a little person who was black and who was gay that gave him an end card, except for he didn't say end card. He said the word.
Oh boy, oh boy.
And then he proceeded to say the word 47 more times, over and
Ooh.
over and over. And it's just, in Bristol, we're a room full of white people, unless Malcolm is there.
Right, 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 right.
And
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the pucker and the assholes in that room was intense. And he went on for a solid 5 minutes,
Oh my
inward, inward,
gosh.
inward, inward.
Yeah,
And and then he was so confused why nobody was laughing. And he got
yeah.
off stage going, "Well, I really thought you guys would enjoy this."
Wow.
And we were all just like, and then after that, every comic after that proceeded to just tear his ass apart.
Yeah, yeah. Because
And they got up and left, but his wife got very upset because nobody laughed, and
wow.
she was like yelling at Sean, like in the middle of open mic, yelling at Sean, going, that wasn't any different than anything you guys say. You guys call
No.
women bitches, and it's just like, oh, there's a difference.
Yeah, there's a difference, and again, it
There's a
goes back to
difference.
the, it's got to be funny, which means you got to know
Yeah.
your audience, got to know what's appropriate. And again, I know there are attacks on people to cancel people, and that is a
Mhm.
thing. But the way I see it is, it's more, LeVar Burton said it best. It's not cancel culture, it's consequence culture. Like, especially in America, you can go
Yeah.
say whatever you want, but there are going to be consequences, and just be ready for them. If it happens. And that's one of those situations where it's like, yeah, your buddy gave you permission, but not, the whole all of Black America didn't give you permission.
Right.
You know,
Right.
even Eminem, it doesn't say it.
Yeah, I think it was Drew Morgan. Sorry, my cat has just jumped up on my table and is trying to
Aw,
be involved in everything.
yeah.
Drew Morgan came to the club right after that, and we were telling him about it. And he was just like, he said that he went to an open mic, I don't remember, somewhere, and they said, don't say cunt, don't say the N word, and don't say GD. And he was just like, or no, I think he worded it like, don't say cunt, don't say the N word, and don't say goddamn. And he was just like, well, clearly one of those words is the one that we specifically can't say more than the other one. And I mean,
That's
it's very
funny.
true. Like, you can't get on stage as a white person and pull that off, especially not in a complete white room. Um, well, no, you can't pull that off anywhere as a white person, but there's some jokes where it's borderline, and it's just like, if we were in a mixed room, like, different races other than just white people, you could probably get away with that a little bit more because there would be somebody else there to tell us that it was okay to laugh at it.
Right, right,
You know?
right. Yeah, know your audience.
Yeah.
Know. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing that someone really didn't see, what was weird about that. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, your buddy gave you permission, but that ain't everybody. That
Yeah.
that's so
It was,
funny.
and
Um,
there was a new guy he had driven like 2 hours to get to the club that night. And he went on right after this guy. And he was just like, wow, you guys in Bristol really use a hard R. Um, and I was just like, this is his first impression of us. And it was a nightmare. But that guy hadn't been back since. But we all still talk about it.
yeah. I mean, that would be like kind of legendary, or I guess more notorious, more.
Yeah, for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy. But yeah, so getting a little bit personal, since we're talking like ethics and stuff like that, like I said, you're very candid on stage about celebrating your single Pringle status and your sober status. Can you elaborate more on how these journeys tie into your comedic journey?
Well, let's see. That's the only thing I know to talk about is, my life and my perspective. And
Mhm.
my perspective is, I like to call it single, sober, and sassy. That's especially in the beginning of my comedy career, I had just gotten sober. I was probably a year maybe sober. And I had to get sober because I found out at the beginning of the pandemic that I was in end-stage liver failure. And so I got put on the transplant list. And I mean, I was sick, sick, sick. I was dying. I was actively dying. And that'll put the world in perspective for you a little bit,
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm so glad that you're still here. I mean, and that's definitely like a BC AD situation. Like you're definitely like you've got a second life in this
Oh
journey.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
My friends say all the time, that you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here because I didn't end up having to have a transplant, even though
Mm.
as sick as I was, my doctor said that he's seen like maybe 3 or 4 people go from as sick as I was to as healthy as I am now without a transplant. But I also listened to what they told me to do. I absolutely quit drinking the day they said, you've got cirrhosis of the liver. I was just like, okay, then we're done.
Yeah, party's over.
Um, yeah. And and then I got sober through the pandemic.
Mm.
And then we found out that Blue Ridge was opening. And then I found out that they were offering a comedy class. And my best friend and I, call each other sister wives because we were like, we're not just best friends, we're going to be sister wives. Um, well, it's creepier now that she's married. When we were both single, it was just kind of fun.
So
But
you
people are
guys
just
don't
like,
make that joke anymore around the like what like her
oh
husband
no, we
or
still call each other sister wives. But all the comics at the club were just like, do you touch her? Like, do you
yeah.
sleep with her husband? And I was just like,
Are
no,
they
guys,
really
it's just,
Mormon?
yeah, it's just an expression. We love each other so much for sister wives.
Oh, I love
Um,
it. That's adorable.
but she and I signed up to take the Comedy 101 class. And, that's all growing up. I was, kind of my sister was always like really book smart and reserved, and I was always more of the creative, like wacky one. Wanted to be the center of attention, just acting a fool to get attention. Uh, and my mom would always be like at family gatherings, she'd be like, Meredith, tell that story, or Meredith, do this story, or um, so I was just like, I'd love to take a comedy class. I don't have any desire to get on stage, but it might be fun, and it's something to do that's social, that's not sitting at a bar drinking, because that's all my friends, do and did. So if I wanted to hang out with my friends, I was going to have to be in a bar. And at that point, I wasn't ready to handle all that. Just sitting around with
Wow.
no other focus other than just taking shots.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we started doing comedy, and I thought I was killing it straight out the gate. I thought I was just on fire, but it turns out that I was at the back of the pack in a comedy class, and there was some not great, there was some not great people. Well, I mean, they were great people, but they weren't very funny. But yeah, I thought I was getting on stage and just killing it. But then at the end of like the 8-week class, you have a graduation where you get a weekend show, and you get the whole class gets on stage and does 5 minutes, and the audience is just filled with people there to support you. So they're the most generous supporting audience you're probably ever going to have.
Yeah, bringer.
Yeah, they want you to kick ass and succeed. And we sold out the club for the first time, I think, since like, opening. And I just got up there and destroyed. I don't know. I was doing the same jokes. I think I was just kind of feeding off that energy, and
Yeah.
and that's everybody was just like, "Wow, Meredith, you were the dark horse of that class, and you really came through." And I was just like, "What? I've been telling the
Dark
same jokes
horses.
and killing it the whole time." But apparently I wasn't.
Oh, that's
So
so funny. That's so funny.
yeah, but then I kind of got the bug, and at that point, Sean, the owner of Blue Ridge, he didn't have a built-in pool of comics to choose from for these weekend shows. So I just kind of started showing up to shows because I wanted to learn. Watching comedy is like school for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided that I was going to make myself available and, kind of create my own little pocket in Blue Ridge. And so I started by learning the soundboard and the mixer, and learning how to do the lights, because Sean was a one-man show at that point. He was doing it all. It was him and a bartender. And so
Yeah.
I was just like, let me help you on this. And I learned how to do that. And then so I was there for every show.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where, I kept doing open mics, and probably maybe, I don't know, probably 3 months in, Sean started throwing me up for guest spots. He would just come over and he'd be like, hey, I don't have anybody to do a guest spot. Do you want to do 5 minutes? And he had said early on in the beginning, if you want to be a comic, never turn down stage time. If you want to, perfect your craft, don't turn down stage time. So I just adapted that as my motto, and I was never going to turn down stage time. And so I have an obscene amount of stage time for somebody who is almost 3 years in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have no business having the amount of stage time that I have. And it's
Yeah.
all because Sean Carter just gave me the opportunity, and I just kept plugging away at it and
Mm-hmm.
working on stage presence and working on delivery. And
Yeah.
the writing is harder for me, but because I write on life experiences, so
Right.
that's everything is very kid based right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
then I eventually wormed my way into bartender, and now it's my part-time job and my full-time job. So
Wow. Wow.
it's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I owe my sobriety to Blue Ridge too, because I don't know that I would have stayed sober had I not found this outlet to put that energy into.
That's so cool. And and that's amazing too, because if you think about it this way, you thought the party was over, but now you are the party.
Yeah.
Like that's so cool. That's a
Yeah.
really cool experience. And so you've gotten a little bit of producerial experience running the lights and sound and stuff.
Mhm.
But do you have any more aspirations of like performing, or like getting into, breaking out of stand up into other fields of entertainment?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm never going to say never to that. I'm not actively pursuing that right now, because I really just want to travel and kind of be a road dog.
Yeah.
And just work on my stand up.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it would be great if somebody wants to offer me something. Heck yeah, I'm there. I don't
Cool.
know that I'll be the best actor in the world, but hey, I didn't know I could do stand up either. So
Right, right, right.
sky's the limit, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, most, there's kind of the old guard sort of thing in comedy where it's like, there are these steps you have to take, and like there's like as if there is a roadmap. But one of the things with entertainment, there's so many different paths to go with it, and it's all about the vibe and what works. Again, what's funny, what's not, what's good, what's not. What objectively works for the audience, but again, it's so subjective at the same time. What like so you've networked with so many comedians. Have you planned on like collaborating with any comedians, or are there favorites like that you vibe with more, like on a set that you work well with, like in the order?
Yeah, that's the cool thing about Blue Ridge is that we really are a family, and we'll all get together and we'll workshop, and that's with workshopping. If we're working on your joke and I say something that you think is funny, that's yours. Have it. Go. That's all you. And I probably mostly workshop with Dustin Aaron. He's one of my best friends at the club. That's everybody always says that Dustin and I are a couple, but we're not. We're just really good friends. And I actually have a joke, that's like, I'm gonna set the record straight about Dustin and I. We anytime we go out and do something socially, we're usually together. We text each other when we're not together, but there's absolutely nothing sexual going on between us. So it's more like a marriage than it is a relationship. So, but yeah, Dustin and I are just great friends, and we workshop and we riff off each other. But he's like super smart, intellectual, and I'm just like, I don't get that joke. I don't feel like I'm dumb, but sometimes he goes like the long way around, and I'm just like, no, just take the straight route. And then sometimes I'm taking the straight route, and he's just like, you need to go around that a little bit. And I'm like, okay. So we kind of balance each other out. So
Yep.
that's it. And Joe Bridges is great.
Yes. Love that guy.
He's a completely different style from me, but I love Joe as a human, and he always makes me laugh. He got on stage a couple of weeks ago, and for 5 minutes, just ate this like hand pie. I think in the full 5 minutes, he maybe told two jokes, but he was just standing there eating the rest of the time, and I'm just like, only fucking Joe Bridges could get up there and
they
destroy
laughed.
the room
Yeah, they
just
laughed
by
the
eating.
whole time. That was awesome.
Yeah, just by eating. And I was just like, I hate and I love that about him, because I was just like, why can't I do something like that? But that's, if I got up there and ate, they would just be like,
what the fuck is going on?
yeah, put the pizza down and tell some jokes, lady.
I don't know. I think you could make it funny. I honestly think you could make it funny.
I think that the only way that the audience would be paying any attention is if I was eating a banana, and then that would only be half of the audience.
That's good though. That's good.
Yeah, that's being a female in comic is an interesting thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I love your bits, and I'm the kind of, because I am just such a writer brain. Even if something isn't relevant to me or isn't really in my wheelhouse, I can still see what's funny, what works, like, and I can almost like imagine being like your thing about about like adjusting yourself, and like like how dudes get away with it. One of the many things they just get away with doing in public and no one bats an eye.
Yeah.
Chicks did the same thing. How like the attention people would get would be insane.
Yeah.
And now I'm sorry to butcher your joke. I didn't mean.
Oh no, that's fine. I have another one that's about boobs and balls as well, and I compare the two, and it's just like, what if men's balls were somewhere where we could see them and judge them for their size, like men do with women's breasts?
Oh, that's so good. That could be a skit. That could be a really good skit. Oh, we gotta talk sometime later about that, because that is so good.
Yeah,
that's so
and
good.
and then I go into all kinds of examples about it. Like, would women become really shallow and not date somebody because they didn't have big balls? Like Jenny's not ever going to date him. His balls are too small.
And it would have to just be played so straight, like delivery,
Yeah.
like so dry, just like really taking it seriously, like almost like some Tim and Eric type stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so
And
good.
about ball implants and
Ah,
ball reduction surgery because his back always hurts and his clothes don't fit him right. And his girlfriend's like, "You better not get your balls reduced." Yeah.
Oh, stop! I'm gonna start crying. Oh my god, that's so good, man. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So, what's next for you, real quick, before we move on to the topical punch? Where can people see you? Thinking more like this, like in March. Plans.
Let's see. March, I'm going to be. I think it's March 8th.
The 8th.
I have a show in somewhere in North Carolina. I can't even remember. It's an LA Preston show. LA, books a lot of shows around the Roanoke area. And he's a great guy. He's wonderful, and he's wonderful to comics as well. Um, I'm at Blue Ridge all the time, and like I said, it'll be 30 seconds before showtime, and Sean will just come up to the bar and be like, "Hey, you want to do 10?" Just and I, like I said, I don't turn stage time down, so I'm always like, "Heck yeah!" Yeah. So you can see me at Blue Ridge all the time. And I just booked something else the other day. What was it? I don't know. Hopefully, just more traveling. I'm going to a comedy competition in Greensboro, North Carolina that's in May 23rd, I believe is my date. So I'm excited about that one. I've never been to Greensboro. And I've been there, but not to do comedy. And I'm really excited. That's a new city to tell jokes in and to hopefully get my name out in. And
Awesome.
yeah, that's my plan this year. Just travel to new places that I haven't been. I love the places that I have been, and I want to do those as well. But I want to start spreading the Meredith love around.
Please, yeah, and come back to my neighborhood as soon as possible. And let people know where to find you online real quick. Where they could keep up with you to find those dates and what have you.
Yeah, that's I'm Meredith Kerr on Facebook, and I'm Meredith.is.funny on Instagram, and I'm really trying to work on my social media presence. I'm bad at it. Between the kid and my 77-year-old mother, I'm just
Yeah.
I'm not very good at doing content, and I'm also that weird kind of in between Gen Xer where I'm not awesome with technology, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I know the basics. I'm muddling through.
So, moving on to some topical punch. You want to delve into some news with me?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Because I got a few funny stories. One weird story. We're going to start local before we blast off into space. As always, first story here. Starting off local, we got in Floyd, Virginia. Where a recent alert, here's a public service announcement, folks. There's a scam going on in our neck of the woods here. So, Meredith, look out, because, it's also probably coming around your neck of the woods. But it's very meta. It's a very meta scam. It's targeting senior citizens, but we all get these robocalls and stuff, and random numbers. This scam involves two phases designed to deceive the victims. So it's a double-pronged scam. Initially, the scammer operates with the direct approach, where they attempt to defraud you by setting up a scenario that's kind of recognizable as a scam. So they'll do the same old thing, like, "Hey, I heard you needed help with Microsoft," or "we're trying to get you about your warranty," all that kind of stuff. But after this initial attempt, in case it didn't work, the same people will call you again, but this time they pose as an investigator who's like, "Hey, I know you just got this messed up call. We're here to help, and we're trying to track them down. Can you help us, with this investigation?"
Sneaky.
So sneaky, and it's kind of meta. Like it's kind of like a plot from like a movie or
Yeah.
something. You know. So yeah. No legitimate law enforcement agency would ever request payments for their services
Yeah.
or ask for personal information like that, especially if they're not in person. So anyone who gets a scam like this, contact them at 540-745-9334 and let them know you're aware of the fraudulent activity and let them know, exactly where you got it from and everything. Yeah, so remain
Or just
vigilant.
never talk to the cops without a lawyer present. That's my thing. Just keep your mouth shut.
Bringo.
Snitches get stitches.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
I've always wanted to work that into my everyday vernacular. I've never been able to. I felt like that was really good though.
That was great. That was great. And I like that stance, On the other hand, work it out yourself. Figure
Yeah,
out,
just
find
don't
them,
fall for it.
do some Liam Neeson stuff, call him
Yeah,
back and be like, I have a particular set
I
of
have a
skills.
particular set of skills. Yeah, don't threaten me with a good time, buddy. You might not know what you're getting into.
That's great. That is the Southern version of that. That is the
Yeah,
Southern version. I want to see like a Southern version of Taken now.
yeah.
So,
I'm pretty sure that there would be shotgun and beers involved.
yeah. Oh my God, right? Yeah, like every time he beats someone up in a kitchen, you know how many times he beats people up in kitchens? Like every time he
Yeah.
reaches into the fridge and grabs a beer, some sort of Russian beer or something. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
it would have to be like Natty Light or something very,
yes,
you know.
some natty
Well, I
daddies.
was going to say Bud Light, but Southerners can't do Bud Light anymore.
No, Kid Rock canceled Bud Light for us.
Yeah.
That was
Bud Light was
insane.
always my go-to.
Yeah, right. That was fun though. That was an interesting little. Speaking of the pendulum swinging, Bud Light went through a whole like pendulum swing in like a month. Like,
Heck yeah, they did. Yeah, it made me laugh because Bud Light used to be the number one beer, and then everybody had that freak out and they boycotted, and then they made, they as in the public made Modelo the number one beer, and it's like that's made by Anheuser, like it's the same people.
yeah, same money. That's so funny. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. That's
Mhm.
hilarious. That is hilarious.
Yeah, and it's just like you're still supporting them, and you
Yeah,
don't know that if you were that concerned about it, then do your research and find out where your money's going.
exactly,
But
exactly. Oh
you
my
just
God.
it's like a surface level boycott. I don't care as long as it doesn't as long as I don't have to go deeper than this. I'm going to boycott.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
a real. Yeah, it's
yeah.
it's
You're not
it's
taking a stance.
it's posturing. It's all
Yeah,
yeah. Which that's
exactly.
what all both sides of that whole thing. It's all people posturing and
Yeah.
it's wild. Such silly people. Um, but moving on, staying in the realm of the cyber, but moving on, and still in Virginia, but this is more regional.
Okay.
There's been a silent cyber uproar. It's crazy. No one else is talking about it except me now. I'm going to take a stand. So everyone's, no one is talking about this newish porn law. And I get it. Have you heard of this? Have you, I mean, I know you're single. I don't want to, bring up any HR questions or anything,
Oh,
but
I do not. As I live in Virginia, and I do not have access to Pornhub in Virginia.
yes, yeah, right. It's crazy. No one's talking about it, and I don't. And I get it. I get why no one's out in the streets like, hey, what's
Oh, you should come to Blue Ridge. All the comics are talking about it.
see, I am in the wrong spot. Now. So yeah, yeah. So it's a very titillating tale. There was a Senator Bill Stanley is the villain of this narrative, championing legislation aimed at shielding youth from adult entertainment industry. But it's not just about, the clash of puritanical morality and personal freedom. If you peel back the layers on this, this is an issue of our digital identities and the very real fear surrounding our online privacy. So Senator Stanley, along with others like in Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Utah, and our own home, Virginia, Youngkin folded right into it, last July decided, to bring this big geo block where, a legislation that requires Virginians to upload photo IDs to these databases to access adult entertainment platforms. On paper, it's a bid to protect the innocent, which I get that aspect of it. But in practice, it's a potential privacy nightmare, sparking outrage and disbelief from my peers. Imagine for a moment the horror of your ID being the gatekeeper to your guilty pleasures, forever bound together in the deep recesses of those titanic servers. The people of Virginia, like myself, unsurprisingly, obviously, as Meredith just said, like, the people are kind of like in this whole region, like, what? Yeah. So what's next? Social security numbers to get into Facebook and shit. Like, that's the thing.
It's crazy that I don't know, like, everybody's like, I don't want the government to have my information. That's the COVID vaccine has microchips in it. They're already following us. They've got our phones. Our phones are always attached to us. You can't go anywhere without being on a camera. Now Big Brother wants to see what I'm watching for my sex kink. Like, why do you need to know that I like, Buxy Blondes?
Oh shit, your hold on, your audio just went out. That was crazy. Are we getting censored?
I got a phone call it was a spam call. Sorry.
Like, holy shit, they're listening.
Please the government's just like, shut that shit down.
No, say it again though. Say it again.
I don't know why Big Brother needs to be involved in my porn life. You don't need to know what my kink is. My love of watching buxom blondes get spanked and having, with cream pies. Like that's none of the government's business. And how does that behoove them? You're just setting yourself up for opening yourself up to blackmail, because what else would you use that information for?
That's what I was telling my cousin earlier. He's like, well, who cares? I mean, they know anyway. And I'm like, they know IP addresses, but they don't have your like government ID straight up associated with this browsing history. And so if, a motherfucker from like Nigeria or Russia or something hacks into those databases, they can straight up hit up like prominent people or just anybody and be like, hey, if you don't want people to see that cross-dressing shit that you look at, you need to send me $1 million.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just it. That's I don't know, like in Colombia or that's second and third world countries, they just assume that all Americans are rich. So that's like, I don't need you to contact me and be like, I have your ID and, I know that you like to watch this. And if you don't, I could see where it would help with kiddie porn, but they can't regulate that anyway, apparently. Yeah. So what I did was I just used my 77-year-old mother's ID. So anything, I'll just trace it back to her.
I was about to recommend VPNs, but that is so much better. That is so much better.
Mean, what are they going to do to her?
That's so awesome. That is such a good idea. Oh my God, that beats the hell out of this next paragraph. But
could you imagine if they started like prosecuting this? There would be like a porn prison. That would be the horniest like that actually sounds good. I might switch out to my ID so I can go to porn prison because human touch.
And how many people are there because they were into some prison shit?
Yeah,
it's like
that's don't send me to my fantasy, please.
Yeah, that shit. It's so I in the 8 months that this thing's been around, at least you might hear people in and stand up talk about it here and there, but as far as like in the media, mainstream media,
I had no idea until one of the comics started talking about it, and then instantly I came home and I was just like, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just it, and that's I'm not porn site proficient. So I just felt like that means I'm just going to have to Google free porn.
Yes.
And now I'm opening myself up to viruses. It's like I'm out there just having sex without condoms, you know?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
you took away my safe space.
Yeah. So it's a free speech or a free press thing as far as the Free Speech Coalition, warriors of the First Amendment have put out there.
Yeah.
You know,
Get out of my bedroom. You don't need to be in my bedroom, government.
yeah, exactly. And it's
You're already
all
in my car, in my home, in my bank account. You know, you're everywhere. Get out of my bedroom.
yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
a woman in Virginia, so now you're in my womb. You know, like I don't need you everywhere.
Preach, man, preach. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. But yeah, so adult film stars like Sherry DeVille have pointed out, you know, there are virtual virtual privacy networks that you can use, which are basically these digital cloaks of invisibility. But I mean, like, that's just crazy to even need something like that. And as you touched on, which is just the same thing that any, you know, theoretical like teenager looking for stuff, if they want to find stuff, they're gonna find it. Like,
They're
you
gonna
know,
find it.
it's on Twitter, it's on Tumblr, like it's already like,
Hell, it's on the TV. I
hell,
mean,
it's on this Virginia flag. Look at the flag for Virginia there. There's a booby on it.
there's a movie.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah, that's you know, I mean, and in Europe and in other countries, like their soap operas are naked sex soap operas, and it's just like it's taboo in America because we make it taboo, you know.
Right,
But yeah,
exactly.
that's just one of those things that I'm hoping will change with time. We got to get those old white men out of government.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They've outlasted their usefulness to us.
Yeah, and it's just it's this is not a government of our peers at all.
Mm-mm.
This is, you know, these are rich.
Clearly, because my friends want me to watch porn. Well, I mean, and that's the state of the nation is, you know, we've got some civil unrest happening, and now you're going to take away their porn.
Oh my God, you're just asking for riots. You're just asking for very pent up poor people. You know?
Well, yeah, full balls might equal full clips in this matter, y'all. That's
Put that on a
unload them
t-shirt.
both.
Yeah. No, put that on a t-shirt. Put that on
Yeah.
a t-shirt. Oh man. But yeah, I'm so glad you were familiar and on the same page, because
Yeah.
it's really, I mean, again, I get theoretically what they're going for, but that's just not functionally how it's going to work. That's you're just creating, you know, more of a black market of you know, this content, which, you know, kids are still going to access, and it's just insane. It's insane. But moving on
Okay.
to you know, another a groundbreaking development. This is total 180 now. Total 180 now. In worldwide science news, a development from the heart of Beijing, a Chinese scholar has catapulted AI technology into a new era with the creation of the world's first AI-powered simulated child, Tong Tong. That's this baby's real name.
On Tong.
Tong Tong, yeah. As reported by the South China Morning Post, this virtual toddler, unveiled at the Frontiers of General Artificial Intelligence Technology exhibit, isn't just another digital avatar. Developed at the Beijing Institute for General Artificial Intelligence, Tong Tong represents a leap towards achieving artificial general intelligence, the holy grail of AI research, aiming to completely mirror human cognition. Whew. Zhu Songchun, the brain behind this innovation and founder of Big AI, has built Tong Tong with the capacity to not only to execute given tasks within a virtual environment, but to autonomously set new objectives for herself. This capability marks a departure from conventional AI avatars, positioning Tong Tong as a pioneering figure in the field of cognitive artificial intelligence designed to emulate human reasoning, moral discernment, and the ability to articulate attitudes across diverse situations, demonstrating a profound understanding of human-taught common sense. Well, that's funny. That's funny. I don't know. I haven't met a lot of humans with common sense.
Yeah, I know common sense isn't so common anymore. But my question about to all this is like, to what end?
That is a great question. Beyond serving as a marvel for exhibition attendees, Tong Tong is destined for a pivotal role in the evolution of AGI through Big AI's Tong test. This innovative assessment proposed last year by Zhu aims to gauge the sophistication of AI models through a comprehensive 150-question evaluation. The test examines 5 key dimensions: vision, language, cognition, emotion, and learning, alongside social and group values, offering insights into how closely an AI model approximates the fabled AGI. So basically, by starting this thing off already as a baby that's, evolved with everything that we know about and have developed with AI so far, they're starting from scratch with this background, and it's basically the next evolution. Like, we've made all these machines, now we're going to put them all together, start it off as a baby, and let's see what happens.
Does it age like we age? I mean, is it real time aging?
That's a great question, because like when you look at like the numbers on how fast these things think, I mean, like, it ages theoretically just a regular chatbot thousands of years, every time you interact with it. So that's a great question. So yeah, it's propelling us closer to what we want AI to be theoretically. But
Which is what do we want AI to be theoretically? I missed that memo. Wait.
I know. That's always the thing, is like, they're always like, we're just trying to get it to where we want it to be, and it's like, where do we want it to be?
What do we need it to do? I had a Tamagotchi when I was a kid. The little keychain thing that you had to feed and pet and walk, and then if you made it all 31 days, it would die, and you got to start over or whatever.
Yep.
Just like a little digital thing.
Yep.
And I got bored with it like 5 days in.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What is it supposed to do? It's going to separate us from other humans even more. And it learns the person that it's interacting with's moral code and moral compass and common sense. Right. Is that the idea? It's whoever is in control, or whoever's the main caretaker of this thing?
Yeah.
Tong.
Yeah, so actually, these are great questions, and the article was very introductory and didn't get into a lot of that. But
if it's based on whoever is in control of it, there's going to be a lot of stupid damn baby robots out there.
That's my thing always. They're like, we want to mirror human cognition. It's like, really? Because we make mistakes, bro. Like, we make mistakes.
Yeah. I don't. And again, to what end? I don't understand it. But right now it's just digital. It's not like a C3PO type corporeal thing, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's all just like a computer program so far. Well, there's this picture. I don't know if this is supposed to be Tong Tong though. The real Tong Tong looks terrifying. See, that's just some concept art, but I'm trying to.
Okay. So it is an actual physical thing.
So here's what Tong Tong.
Oh my word!
Looks like the real Tong Tong.
Okay.
It looks like that dancing baby. You remember the CGI dancing baby?
Yeah, that is horrifying.
Yeah.
So really, we're gonna have, it's gonna be like Chucky real life. If it has emotions and feelings, like, it can get upset and crush your head with its machine arms.
It's sweet little Tong Tong. It's sweet little Tong Tong, which means little girl. I just learned. Yeah. So Let me see. 600 words, the ability to learn autonomously like a child. But the thing is, they say this thing's got reasoning, and I mean, you're familiar
Yeah.
with kids. I mean, even teenagers don't really have great reasoning.
Oh, I know.
So, yeah. I'm like you. I'm like, so what are we doing this for? So
Yeah. To what end? I don't get it.
What are we trying to do here? Like you were just, yeah, like you said, like make just some dumb robot babies. Like again, back to my point about overpopulation earlier. We got enough regular babies, regular human babies to deal with, and we don't know what we're going to do.
That need taken care of and to be taught things, and yeah.
No, let's use this Tamagotchi AI baby. Let's fool around with that and see.
Yeah, I don't get it. And again, I think that it's more separation from actual society and humanity. Like I don't need something else to come between me and human contact.
Yeah,
I think that's important for us. I think that we're meant to be social creatures, and we need to be able to talk to real things and not AI babies. Sorry, Tong Tong.
Yeah, sorry, Tong Tong. We no hate.
I got nothing for you.
No hate, Tong Tong. But yeah.
And do I have to send this baby to college? Like, I don't. This seems. Can't we just like get a DAT file or like a disk drive, like a drive and just a thumb drive and like upload the college education? Like, I don't know. Yeah, that whole thing seems stupid.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
But I mean, hey, you could have a kid without blowing out your vagina, I guess. So there you go.
No, folks,
I don't get it.
Just adopt, folks.
Yeah,
There are
just
plenty of
adopt.
folks in the system.
Real human babies, or animals. They work too. Just not scary robot babies.
Yeah. Little Chucky Tamagotchis.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy, this has been so much fun, Meredith. I can't wait to have you back on. I can't wait to talk to you about some other projects and stuff. Remind the folks again where to find more of you.
Meredith Kerr on Facebook and meredith.is.funny on Instagram.
That's right, folks.
And thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
Awesome. Let's do it again. And we can have even more news fun. I love talking about other stuff, like other weird topics. So anything, we're willing to go there, as long as we can make it funny. So check Meredith Kerr out everywhere, and stay